It's the curtain raiser. It's the opening game of the ICC Cricket World Cup 2025. The much awaited World Cup is ready and it's all set to begin. I have Neha with me. Neha, it's India, it's Sri Lanka that are opening the contest and opening a blockbuster of a tournament, which is first game is going to be hosted in India. Your thoughts? How much are you excited for this tournament?
Hi, Preetham. Clearly, the excitement is not lost on me. I think for almost a month, right, I've been doing this mental countdown. Yeah, 29 days to go, 28 days to go. And just very happy that, India takes on a team like Sri Lanka. I mean, both of them are technically co-hosts, so it's going to be quite the interesting encounter, right? Both teams just coming in with a lot of history, and there's, a bit of rivalry as well, a lot to sort of play for. So, yeah, just very, very excited.
Absolutely. You said about a lot of history, and we'll come to what history holds for these two teams. But when it comes to, first of all, the conditions, the venue where it's going to be hosted in the Barsapara Cricket Stadium in Guwahati. Your thoughts on how this stadium, while it was supposed to be, if I'm not mistaken, the Chinnaswamy, which has now been shifted to Guwahati, understandable so, but it's the first time they are hosting a women ODI contest in this stadium. So we don't have much of an knowledge about it. But 3 p.m. is what the match starts. So it's going to be expecting late September, early October. So hot and humid conditions, a little bit of monsoon rain. But your thoughts on how this surface or how the stadium is going to play out, because it is known for a batting paradise.
I think the Barsapara Cricket Stadium is an absolute vibe. We have seen whatever little we have seen of it during the IPL. The crowd usually turns up in massive,
Yeah.
massive numbers, and the community there really loves cricket. I'm sure it's not going to be any different for women's cricket, considering the fact that this is the first time like a women's international match is happening there. So hoping that crowds turn up in massive numbers, and even for the players, right? Some of the domestic matches have happened there, so they have an idea of how the conditions are. As you rightly said, it is an absolute batting paradise. So expect no less this time around too. And I think because it's a World Cup, you will sort of expect to cater to the audience that it will be a proper runs feast. And both teams have the kind of batters who can sort of go big. I mean, and again, give the preference to India because the kind of players they have. But Sri Lanka too, is one team you'd not want to write off. Just excited to see how the match sort of unfolds in this new venue, and the fans sort of make up the huge numbers.
Two Asian teams kickstarts the tournament. There's nothing better to say that. But when you said about in the IPL, we have seen the crowd turning up. I'm sorry, but I need to ask that because that was a men's fixture. How much does the women's deserve some support in the stands because they're playing some exceptional cricket?
Oh, Preetham, trust me, I think you will see a lot of people turn up in massive numbers. In fact, when the whole ICC Trophy Tour was happening, they did travel to Guwahati as well, and just the kind of reception, they went to a lot of schools. The trophy traveled to a lot of schools. It just went to a lot of academies as well. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of acceptance for women's cricket there. In fact, Uma Chetri too, right, who has been named as the replacement for Yastika Bhatia, hails from this very region. So I'm sure they love their cricket, and it's going to be just accepted as much as men's cricket will be. So I'm not entirely concerned with that aspect. I mean, it'll take us on a whole different tangent, if we were to talk about what venues could have potentially made the cut. But then the fact that, we have these venues chosen shows, we should show some faith in the crowds there, and hoping that they live up to it.
Absolutely. But when you talk about the two teams and at the top of the order, you have two quality openers. And when you talk about the two southpaws, Smriti Mandhana on one side, Chamari Atapattu on one side, but their openers are going to be Pratika Rawal and probably, as per me, it's going to be Vishmi Gunaratne. Your thoughts on which pair do you think is a little bit more lethal, considering that its power play is going to be very important?
No brainer there, Preetham. I think it has to be Smriti Mandhana and Pratika Rawal, right? Again, just want to put all Nazar emojis on them because of just the way, right, they've been sort of faring. They've already, raked up like close to 1,000 runs in just one calendar year. Both of them, just rub off on each other so beautifully. And again, I think just bring out the best out of each other. So for me, it has to be Smriti Mandhana and Pratika Rawal, just being right up there. Hopefully, they can continue the momentum that started during that Australia series on to the World Cup as well. And because of Pratika's presence, I feel even Smriti is just able to unleash her aggressive game, right? Especially those twin centuries versus Australia gave us an indication of where she's sort of headed. Again, this is no disrespect to the Sri Lankan openers, Chamari Atapattu and Vishmi, who themselves have been doing well. But come on, it's a case of India. It's a home World Cup. You would sort of want to give your openers a little bit of edge, no?
Absolutely. You definitely would want to do that. But number 3 and number 4 for India are always been Harleen Deol and Harmanpreet Kaur, and they love to play the sweep shots. And if you add a little bit of that, Deepti Sharma too is there. But what tactics do you think the Sri Lankan spinners will have? Considering they have a little bit of left-arm orthodox spinner, they have a leg spinner in this side, they have an off spinner. So too many variations can be there. What would you do if you're in the shoes of Chamari Atapattu?
I think, the Sri Lankan camp will definitely go very spin heavy on India because sometimes, they tend to clamp up if the conditions get sort of tricky. The first thing would obviously be to get Smriti Mandhana's wicket, introduce that bit of off spin and induce that fall shot and get that wicket. And the rest of the middle order too, right, takes a little bit of time to settle in before they, really start getting going. So they, again, want to put an entire arsenal of spinners to, stop that run
Mhm.
flow. Harleen takes a bit of time to settle in. Harman, also ends up doing that. And they employ a lot of those, sweep shots and slog shots and all of that. So I think, yeah, Sri Lanka would pretty much have the strategy cut out in this regard, because if India is batting first, you're going to be looking at like a lot of sun too. So it's going to be difficult conditions to
Yeah.
sort of bat in. So getting those early wickets and putting pressure on India is definitely what they're going to be looking forward to.
It has to be, and putting pressure on them will be very important. But when you have the two sides having experience in the bowling attack too, Renuka Singh Thakur will have the new ball. Shri Prabhudani will have the new ball as well. Left arm angle, right arm angle. Your thoughts on the new openers as we are discussing about? Do they need to be watchful against them? Because I believe when she will bowl, I'm expecting the keeper to stand up.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think just with the way Sri Lanka goes about with their strategies, we have discussed about the spin being such a massive talking point. But yeah, I think with Inoka Ranavira coming in later, you have Udeshika Prabhudini as well, right? With her pace,
Yeah.
keeper will stand closer. But I think for Sri Lanka, the key will be to get the opening wickets, because the moment Smriti Mandhana and Pratika Rawal get going, they settle in for like 15-20 overs. India is looking at a target in excess of probably like a 300, a 350 even for that matter. So Sri Lanka will have to be very optimal in the usage of their resources. You can probably bring in someone like a Kavisha, to get those early wickets too. And yeah, I think just not letting the openers settle will be like plan number one for Sri Lanka.
You said about 300, maybe a 350. Can we see a 400 this time around in the Cricket World Cup, just like a few days ago Australia did?
Yeah, no surprises there, Preetham. I think this World Cup will definitely see a 400 from the looks of it, right? Women's cricket has massively, massively grown since the last edition of the World Cup for the better. And yeah, I think if the India-Australia series just gave us a glimpse of what the women are capable of, I don't think the World Cup would be any different, right? It's the same top quality sides who are just going at it with each other, bringing their best brand of cricket. So yeah, just hoping we get to see massive totals being scored, but at least some parity for the bowlers, because you don't want it to be entirely skewed towards batters, making it.
Is it a clear message to the ground staff?
A little bit, Preetham. Yeah, no denying that.
Fair enough. But when you talk about the head-to-head between these two quality Asian sides, if you look into the numbers, Nia, that's what you can see on your screen. It's heavily dominated by India. 34 matches. India have won 31 out of them, while Sri Lanka won just 3 in this format. Domination is likely to continue.
I think, yeah, Preetham, as Indian fans, armchair critics, we really want to see, India sort of dominate and continue. But if there's one characteristic of this Indian side, is that they really play a very fearless and aggressive brand of cricket. So I'm sure, they'd probably not read into these numbers as much. Like, yeah, head to head, it's just like numbers. It's just historic numbers. We don't, look into that much relevance. Because then you tend to go into that whole complacency, right?
Yeah.
Where, we have this advantage, there's this edge and all of that. So yeah, I think although this is there in the background, both teams, look quite formidable on paper, although the tendencies again to give India that sort of an edge, but I don't think they'd be reading too deeply into the head-to-head.
And as you said about there will be crowd there and fans will fill up the stands too. So how much pressure do you think India will be on, as they are the host as well, and they will have expectations to perform too from the fans? Similarly, on the other hand, Sri Lanka, if they can get a victory to kickstart the tournament, nothing better than defeating the likes of India.
Yeah, Preetham, I think the home factor aspect is something we probably haven't spoken enough about, because as fans, we are expressing our excitement. We're like, yeah, you're going to see the girls play. But then for the players themselves, right, it's massive pressure. You just have
Huge
so many
pressure.
more eyeballs who are just going to be watching you, judging you, scrutinizing every move. And I think women's cricket has probably reached that point where you have a lot more followers than you did in 2022. So there's going to be a lot of criticism and scrutiny directed at you. Hopefully the players are adept at dealing with it, and they're able to take it in their stride, because love, hate, all of it is just pretty much a part of the journey. But as you rightly said, it's important to acknowledge that there's going to be that home pressure and a lot of pressure for India to go the distance this World Cup.
And also a lot of pressure for both the sides. Not only is the first match of the tournament, but to kickstart the tournament with the victory to give yourself some momentum. Otherwise, straight away you're in the back foot. But what about the players to watch out for, Neha? I've gone with the 5 players. 4 of them are from each 2 teams, and one of them is going for an X Factor. Here are they: Smriti Mandhana and Renuka Singh Thakur from India, Chamari Atapattu and Kavisha Dilari from Sri Lanka. And I'm very much looking forward to how Sri Charani performs as the X Factor.
I think these are solid picks, Preetham. You never really go wrong with your players to watch out for picks, because these are proven customers who have been, doing well time and again. Smriti Mandhana, again, I think if we talk about it, it's going to be an absolute disservice, because man, the kind of form she has been in, right? I think I keep repeating myself when I say, this is the purple patch. She's in the peak of her career. Hopefully, continues for time immemorial and all of that.
You said one more thing that I really fond of, that when you wear a number 18 jersey, you need to perform.
Absolutely, and she's quite the embodiment, right, of just being able to do well with that jersey number 18, not getting bogged down by it. So Smriti Mandhana, obviously a very, very special player. But Preetham, for India, I just want to add a couple more names. That would be that of
Okay.
Sneh Rana and Kranti Gaud as well. Sneh Rana, the reason I bring her in is because ever since, India lost Sri Lanka Patil, you needed someone to be that, premier off spinner who could,
True.
sort of get you those wickets. You obviously have Deepti Sharma, but then Sneh Rana, man, I think dubbed as the comeback queen, as she would like to call herself, every single
She
time she
continues
steps
to
out.
keep doing her job, being a little bit underrated, if I feel.
Exactly, and being so effortless while at it. I think in the past 10 matches she's played, she's picked up those 18 wickets, amazing
Mm.
economy of 5, just extremely impressive. And another quick name to add here is that of even Kranti Gaud, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't really a part of India's plan for this World Cup, but unfortunate injuries to India's lead pacers, be it, Kashmi Gautam, you had Pooja Vastrikar, so many injuries
Yeah.
happening. Kranti Gaud has really held, that position of being such a, like secondary pace option after Renuka Singh Thakur that India can really bank upon. Again, we've seen that 6-4 she took versus
Yeah.
England, and how impressed we all were in the series versus
Absolutely.
Australia as well, right? Dismissing Alisa Healy 3 times is no mean feat. So for me, these are obviously
Absolutely.
players I'm going to rave about. Yeah.
Sneha definitely got the Australian skipper's number 3 times in the series. But your thoughts on, as I said before, about the conditions? It's going to be hot and humid, especially in the first innings, and that will be challenging for the players. Though they are experienced enough, but they will struggle a slightly bit. Is what you reckon? And similarly, if you win the toss, what would you reckon in this fresh wicket in Guwahati?
Yeah, Preetham, I think the conditions are going to be slightly tough, on the players because ODI matches tend to be like that, right? You're playing like 7, 8 hours
Absolutely
of continuous cricket, and if
correct.
it's like under the sun, it does take a little bit out of you. But I think the team that would win the toss would still, want to sort of bat first, put up a massive total,
Expected, yeah.
tire the opposition bowlers, and just get that massive, massive total on the board. So I wouldn't be really surprised if either team sort of does that.
Okay, so this is what you think about the conditions and what the captain should do, but more importantly, what the captains and the team should do in terms of the predicted playing 11. Let's take a look at that. I think I'm more or less got with the players that picked themselves for India. I've gone with the opening pair of Smriti Mandhana and Pratika Rawal. While till number 7, I think more or less the same. Amanjot Kaur is there as my second seam alongside Renuka Singh Thakur, Sneh Rana, and your Sri Chandrani as my other 2 spinners alongside Deepti Sharma. For Sri Lanka, I've gone with the more or less the same set because I think players picked themselves too. While I've gone with Chamari Atapattu and Vishmi Gujaratne are the openers, Neha. And then it's more or less the same side with heavily reliant on spinners. And I have Udishika Prabhudani and Achali Karusari are the seamers. Your thoughts? How many changes for each of the sides?
Honestly, Preetham, none. Because again, I think you always do a good job of picking up those playing 11s. Honestly, not saying that simply. I think India's playing 11 looks quite balanced. I think for the longest time we have lamented how there's not enough bowling options in that
Mhm.
top 6. If Harmanpreet can like roll her arm a little, that would definitely help the cause. But then the fact that you have other solid bowling options, you have Deepti Sharma, you have Amanjot Kaur, you have Sneh Rana, Sri Charani,
Yeah,
possibly if not Radha Yadav, and
yeah.
Renuka Singh Thakur. I think it looks more than formidable, right?
And
There is
just
the
like just
temptation
like
to
you
bring
said,
in.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Just like we said about Kranti God coming in, is it later in the tournament in place of somebody like an Amanjot Kaur?
Possibly, Preetham. I was just actually alluding to that point of, the tendency and the temptation to, sort of include Kranti Gaud. But right now the setup looks so heavily stacked that it might be, it might be slightly difficult to start off with. And Amanjot too, right? Coming back from an injury, it will be interesting to see how she sort of progresses.
Yeah,
But then the kind
absolutely.
of value add she is with the bat too, right? It's going to be a very, very tough call for India. If she's not able to perform well for the first few matches, to be bringing in someone like Arundhati, but in the warm-up game, we saw what sort of unfolded. So it's going to be a really, really tough choice for India. But at least to start off with, on a preliminary basis, I think, yeah, this is a good playing 11.
And if you have to pick a match-winning bowler for either of the sides, is it Renuka Singh Thakur, is it Deepti Sharma, somebody else? Similarly, is it Prabhu or is it Kavisha Dillari or somebody else for Sri Lanka?
I think for India, they have their task cut out with Renuka Singh Thakur, right? Renuka Swing Thakur, as we love to call her, because of all the heroics she produces every single time she
Yeah,
steps onto the field. So I'd keep my eyes peeled out for Renuka. And from a Sri Lanka perspective too, I think yeah, it's again Kavisha Dilhari for me. I think in the Sri Lanka preview we have raved about the kind of player she's, the
yeah.
value add she's because of the kind of all round prowess that she brings in. So yeah, I think she's definitely one of those wicket taking bowlers who can produce something incredibly special. Hopefully, the conditions also sort of favor
Yeah,
her.
100%. Okay, so according to you, Kavisha Dillari and Renuka Singh Thakur from either of the sides. Final question. It's time for the predictions. Match number 1, opening game of the ICC Cricket World Cup 2025. Over to you, Neha. Your percentage of this match between India and Sri Lanka. Where are you heading towards?
I think I'll go for a 70-30, Preetham. 70 in favor of India. I think they're going to, press for that win. And what better way than, starting off a win versus a team like Sri Lanka. Again, this is not, disrespect Sri Lanka, but then right now, just looking at the recent form and the way India is, sort of marching ahead with that intent of winning the World Cup, I think India just seems much better placed as compared to Sri Lanka.
Okay, so heavily dominated by India in terms of the head-to-head numbers, and similarly, Neha said it will continue 70-30 in favor of Harmanpreet Kaur's side. Thank you so much, Neha. Thank you to all the viewers for watching this video. Match number 1 of the ICC Cricket World Cup 2025.
We are building India's smartest cricket community. Subscribe to become a part of it.